Good evening. Live. We are live. It is the One Celtic Fans View. It is Friday evening. It is Friday evening, and we are live. Well, what a day it's been in the land of Celtic. Um, Brendan Rodgers has admitted that we are going to lose one of the coaching staff. Uh, and just checking Just checking that volume is okay. And I just see what guys are saying. I'll square up if you want to, bro. Yeah. Come on, Kaiser. Come on. Come on and have a chat about the Celtic news of the day. And let's face it, there's a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about, once we get some more people online, I do have a line of statistics for you this evening. I've got a big line of statistics for you for Celtic. Yeah, I changed a few things around in the studio this afternoon. Create what happens when you've got a bit of time on your hands. Anyway, the Celtic news today, obviously the fact Brendan Rodgers has been talking about artificial surfaces. Brendan Rodgers is asked about the potential of any SPFL rule changes when it comes to plastic pitches. It's very clear that the Celtic manager will want to play on grass. He was very vocal about that. And I think the sooner the better it'll be for everyone. He did went on to say he understands the economics of what it means to some clubs. But as I said in the video earlier, I said, look, when these clubs are boasting about, and especially the likes of Kilmarnock and things, when they've reduced the allocation to Celtic and they're boasting about the fact that they are in profit. If they are in profit, put in a grass pitch. So what do you say in the comment section? Hail to Tam Mack is in the house this evening. Hail to you, Vincent. Also, um, the grass pitch thing needs to be sorted out as far as I'm concerned. Celtic playing, or it does nothing for the game, and it's a bit like everyone's sitting back. When you look at these pitches on the telly, they're absolutely terrible. The pitches are absolutely terrible. Anyway, that was Brendan Rodgers talking about the plastic pitches, and they need to be getting rid of. And hopefully, the um, the SPFL will do something about it because let's face it, top flight unless you're in somewhere like Sweden that gets an unbelievable amount of snow and is dark for Sweden and Norway, when they get an unbelievable bout of darkness for the best part of 6 months, the grass doesn't seem to grow. There can be no excuses when it comes to grass pitches, and a bit like it can be no excuses when it comes to picking up the 3 points this weekend. Brendan Rodgers did say he's hoping for rain. He is hoping for rain, so that the pitch is a bit more slippy. So, Brendan Rodgers was also talking about Mikey Johnston. Mikey Johnston, and he says that Mikey Johnston is the most talented academy product ever. Tell me in the comments what you think about that. Is he the most talented person to come out of our academy? When you look at some of the players that have came out the academy over the years, Callum McGregor for one, Kieran Tierney. Um, there was one that went to Moscow for crazy money. There's been a lot of players that have come out of the academy that I think, is Mikey Johnson really the best that's came out of the academy? I don't think so. I think Brendan Rodgers is talking him up because I think Brendan Rodgers wants him to get this new contract at Celtic. Whether the board are convinced that he's worthy of that new contract is a different thing altogether. But it is what it is. The manager seems to like him as a player. I did think that the conversation about Mikey Johnson went on for far too long this afternoon. Right. I'm going to give you some stats for Kilmarnock versus Celtic. And I'm going to go way back. Let's go way back in time. Let's go way back in time. Celtic played Kilmarnock for the very first time on the 1st of January 1939. And the 19, and the 19, that's 1899 and 1900 season. Celtic played Kilmarnock. And then for some unknown reason, it's got two different scorelines. It's got a 3-3 and a 2-2, which is a bit weird. Anyway, get to the biggest scoreline that we've ever had against Kilmarnock. The biggest scoreline that we've ever had was 9-1. We beat Kilmarnock 9-1. In 1938, we beat Kilmarnock 9-1. 1903, we beat them 6-1. And the highest score for Kilmarnock, the highest score for Kilmarnock, they actually beat Celtic 4-2 in 1936. So that's some interesting score lines from the past. Tell me what you think about that. What do you think the scoreline will be this weekend? Anyway, let's see where Kaiser is, because Kaiser was going to say he was going to come on. But Brendan Rodgers saying that Mikey Johnston, let's get back to that. What's changed basically since the last two times that they've met at Kilmarnock at the beginning of the season? Brendan says, I think they were still finding their feet back then, mentally and physically, Brendan says. He says, we're in a good place now. The team has a good organisation and structure, and these players are developing well. It's interesting that he said that because let's face it, the team didn't really need to develop that much. It had been a winning team over the last couple of seasons. So it's interesting that Brendan Rodgers says that the team is developing well. Obviously, to the style of play that he wants Celtic to be playing, which is a bit different to what was under the previous manager. Let's get some of the comments up. Vincent says, hello, Sam Mack is in the house. Patrick Toner's in the house. Belfast Graham is in the house also. And Green Machine is in the house. If Brendan wants Mikey, then he'll need to get him. If the board refuse, Brendan might walk. Brendan won't walk for not signing Mikey Johnston. Come on. There's been a lot better players that the manager didn't get his hands on. And I think Mikey Johnson will get, it's looking like Mikey Johnson will get a new contract. Whether or not is worthy of it. He needs to prove himself on the pitch. Stuart Carey says, hi, Byers. I agree with you. Earlier comment, Mikey Johnson, he gets far too much airtime and he's well overrated. I think he is. I mean, we have better players. And it's like the manager said today. The manager said, he said, look, Mikey Johnson isn't a kid anymore. He's 24 years old. If he wants to be playing at the highest level, he needs to turn it on week in, week out. And coming off the bench and doing it, yeah, it can be hard to do that. But he's a player that now is of an age that he knows what needs to be done on a week in, week out basis. He's got his chance. Has he took it? Has he grabbed the bull by the horn? A bit like what Tony Ralston did a few years ago. Because remember when Tony Ralston was nowhere near the first team until he got the call from Ange Postecoglou, and he grabbed that chance. And it's the same with Liam Scales. Liam Scales was nowhere near the first team. Everyone thought that Liam Scales was going to go back to Aberdeen. So can he improve as much as what the likes of Liam Scales has, and keep some other wingers at the team? Anyway, Brendan, back to Brendan. He was asked with the performance and result that is asked of this group. Are you pleased with the response that you got on midweek? There's been a number of changes. So it's Brendan Rodgers went on saying there's been a number of changes. It's always going to take a little bit more time when you're coming to a club of this size with the expectations. The players that have come in have done very well and they've stood up in a lot of games, especially big important ones. The Champions League has been a challenge for us naturally, but it was always going to be the case. Domestically, the team have been very, very good, said Brendan Rodgers. So that's interesting that he knows that it's always going to be a challenge. And I see that Ange Postecoglou has been talking about that also. Ange Postecoglou has been talking about the fact that when it comes to the Champions League, Celtic are really going to struggle to do anything in the Champions League due to the money. Due to the money. Anyway, let's get some of these comments up because the manager did say that Mikey Johnson is. I don't even want to read that headline out again. It's unbelievable. I still don't believe that he said it. He said he labels Mikey Johnson as the most talented academy product ever. I want something. I want to know what Brendan's drinking in the dressing room. Anyway, Peter, he says, no way is we Mikey having a new contract. He's not good enough. As from being the most talented, what a load. Yep. Daniel, I'm going to start that one. Hi from South Africa. There we go. Hi from South Africa. Enjoying the show, Daniel. Glad you're enjoying the show and welcome to the channel. Right, let's get back to what Brendan was saying. Kilmarnock have they've been good at home this season. What challenges of facing a team like Derek McInnes do you have? And Brendan Rodgers then went on and says Derek team are always very well organised and work hard. They get the ball up early into the wide areas and they get crosses. You'll have to defend the box well. But we also remember that they're going to sit back. It's going to be challenging for us, said the Celtic manager. Um, he was in. I keep on going back to this thing. He was asked. I mean, Celtic put out their version. You've got to remember they put out their own. They put out what they deem as the full interview, but it's basically the Celtic version of the media conferences. And talking about Mikey Johnston for as much as he did, and I mean, he's a good little player, but I mean, the fans think he's not good enough. He was asked, "What do you see from Mikey Johnston moving forward to show you that he can be a regular starter?" The Celtic manager went on to say, I had a good conversation with Mikey today because he's not a young player anymore. He's 24 years of age. He's had issues around his physicality, which gets in the way, but there's no doubting he has the talent. We want to do everything we possibly can to allow him to express that talent. He's a player that's came through the system. He's a player that is he's the most talented ever. And that's what I'll say. Having seen a lot of young players here, he really wants to establish himself as a top class player at Celtic. He knows he has a little bit more to do. For me, that is saying that the Celtic manager is going to give him a new contract. Anyway, at this point, I'm going to welcome into the stage the one and only Kaiser. How are you this evening, my man?
Yo, legend, chilling like a villain. How are you doing?
Feeling like a villain. Good, good. Had a little play around with some stuff online today. Changed the studio around a bit. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
looks
yeah,
brilliant. Looks excellent, bro.
good. Cheers for that. So
I'm
the
still on the
Celtic
Celtic
manager,
way.
the Celtic manager saying that Mikey Johnston is the best product out of the academy ever. What do you think of that?
To say that's a far stretch of the imagination is lacking imagination because I'm certain, right, there's other products of the youth academy who are looking at that. Kieran Tierney, for one, uh,
Yep,
Aidan McGeady, other players who
yep,
were created through Celtic's
yep.
youth academy, looking at that and going like, beg to differ. Mikey Johnston has never produced nothing. You know what I mean? He comes on. I can only
You look at
imagine, right? I can only imagine what he's displaying in training must be this sort of like hidden gem waiting to be uncovered by some Celtic manager, and Brendan hopes it's him. I think we're all in the
if
same
that
boat.
was
We've all been waiting on Mikey to arrive, but he just never
yeah.
arrives. It never happens.
You've got to say, if that is the case, that he is the best product to come out of Celtic Park, he must be valued at around about 25 million.
Of course. I think we need to reassess the setup there. If he's the best product to come out,
Oh
we
God,
need to be
I,
reassessing
I,
where we're
I
spending our
can't
money.
even, I can't believe that I just said that. So Mikey Johnson and Brendan Rodgers' train of thought. Brendan must now think that Mikey Johnson, well, it's a bit like Didier Agat. Martin O'Neill thought
Hmm
Didier Agat was worth 30 million.
hmm He was
So
probably right about a
anyway,
gap was outstanding.
Agat was outstanding, and Agat could take on players, and he could get a cross in as well.
And he had
So
that
Mikey
song,
Johnson
you know what
put
I
that in
mean,
him.
Baz? He had that, did he? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
It's a tune. That was a tune.
that was it. That was it. Right. It's not a full on tonight. I was hoping a bit more. It is Friday night. People don't tend to tune in on a Friday night, but never mind. Never mind.
Hmm
Let's get some of the comments up. Something today says Calmac must feel upset at those comments.
He must be
When
livid.
you've won as much, when you've won as much as Callum McGregor, and you've came through the system, and you've got to remember, we keep saying that he's a product of the academy. Didn't he come out of Paisley first? Didn't we buy him from Paisley?
Well, I'm not sure. I thought Cal Mack came straight through the academy and then
No,
he
I'm
went
talking
out
about
on
Mikey
loan.
Johnson. Mikey
Oh,
Johnson. He didn't come through the academy from a kid. We
oh, I
bought him
don't know.
in.
I thought he did, brother. I actually thought he did. I thought he's a full product of Celtic Academy, like
I'm
within a
sure we.
certain
I'm sure
class.
we. I'm sure we bought him in when he was about 17 or 18.
Hmm
I might be wrong with that. Let me just double check. You do some talking, and
I'll do some talking, no problem, bro. Y'all legends in the chat, welcome on
They're
in.
saying that my mic is down again. Your mic must be way louder than mine, and because I'm not getting.
My mic's a wee
That's
up
on
there
that
on a
down.
banana, mate. It's away from me.
Yeah, I know. Never mind. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to see Mikey Johnston. Was Mikey Johnston a product of the academy, like Brendan said, or um, Mikey Johnston?
Sorry, Tam, bro. Kaiser likes to be heard.
Yeah, he does that. He does that. Mikey Johnston, Celtic. Let me just say, accept and continue.
I was just going to speak to the
Severe
chat and that and get
continue.
any of their opinions on what's happening. See what they
Yeah,
fire in while you're looking, Baz.
Yeah, fire in.
Yeah.
Under
Anyone in the
17,
chat get any input on it if they know where Mikey came from? Like,
he must have came through the under 17s at Celtic. I'm
through the
sure we got
academy.
him. Yeah, I'm sure we got him as young kids from Pays. I'm maybe mistaken. But anyway, he's played at Celtic. He's been at Celtic since he was 17. So, saying that he joined Celtic 2019, the 1st of July 2019, which is right. I can remember him joining, but I'm sure we bought him, which is weird. But then now it's going back to 2014. He was playing youth level at Celtic at under 17s. So there he was. He maybe was a thing of the
Mikey came through the
academy.
physio academy. He came straight for
He came through the physio academy. Yeah, he
Cadbury's,
did. He
bro.
came through the
He's made
physio
of
academy.
chocolate, isn't
Yep, he has made it. He's made it something. But is he the best product to have came through the academy? I don't think so.
No. In short,
No.
no. To summarise it in brief, no, definitely not. As people have already highlighted in the chat, Callum McGregor, a few players that I says that came through the youth setup and the youth academy already outshining. Yeah. I think Mikey Johnston needs to achieve something. It's okay, like when he's away on loan in Portugal, putting in appearances, and like we're getting back reports and hearing that he's physically developed and he's not getting injured as often, and right, so you're looking forward to seeing him coming back. Once again, we've been sold a false promise of an appearance of Mikey Johnston, but I think it's coming to an end. I think that is possibly best for the player to move on and best for the player's career, and also best for the club that he moves on. Certainly, if he doesn't manage to produce anything, we could all change our tune. He could have like he could have a standout performance or go on a run of standout performances if he gets some time in the squad. I understand why people are calling for him to start at the weekend again. Give him that time in the squad, give him a chance, keep it going. But as I say, we're all waiting on him to arrive.
I've just turned my microphone volume up, so you can tell me in the chat if that is a bit better, if my microphone isn't louder. I noticed it was automatically adjust, so maybe that's what's been the problem. Anyway, let's get to some of the comments. Palm says, hail, hail. Something today had a good one. Mikey Johnston came through the Physio Academy.
That's what I was after.
Palm says, hail, hail, everyone. Hope you're keeping well. Something today said he isn't the worst. He's probably the unluckiest kid we brought through. Is he the unluckiest kid, or is he a player that just isn't going to do it at that top level? Let's face it, he's not an Aidan McGeady. Aidan McGeady went for good money. Kieran Tierney got sold for good money around about the same age. If he was up there, and he was going to be a good product of the Celtic Academy. He's not going to be a James. I mean, what does that say about James Forrest? James Forrest came through the academy. He's been there and done it and scored at the highest level for Celtic on an ongoing basis, and he never got loaned out. Do you know what? He never got loaned out. So, is Mikey Johnston really the best player to come through the academy? I mean, James Forrest must be sitting thinking, "Wait a minute, Mikey, come and see my cabinet.
I'll be 1 second, right, mate? I've got someone at my door. I'm going to need to go and answer it. Just give me.
No worries. No worries. I'll remove you for that then now. Anyway, so tell me an unrelated, but then one was hey, yes, Palm. People did buy some of those Cantwell jumpers. I had to change the design slightly as it was copyrighted, believe it or not. Yes, it was copyrighted. Alan Stubbs wanted Johnson at St Mirren years ago. But Alan Stubbs never had the best management career, though, has he? And is that his level though? Is maybe going to St Johnson and having playing in a good team? I mean, he might be a fantastic player in Scottish football in the Scottish Football League. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I just think that when Brendan Rodgers says that he's the best player to come out of the academy, I think that's one of the most bizarre comments that have it's Mikey chapping his door. It, it probably is. It's Mikey Johnson chapping his door saying, no, my mic isn't any up for any further. Anyway, yeah, I think that is one of the most bizarre things ever that Brendan Rodgers did say. Mikey Johnson is the best thing to come out of our green machine. He says, with Brendan saying that about Mikey, he's looking to bump the selling price up in January. Maybe he is. Maybe he is looking to put that selling price up for the player in January. Um, I don't know, but there has to be something in it. There has to be something in it. Let's get back to see what Brendan Rodgers was saying. Brendan Rodgers, obviously talking about Mikey Johnson. He's praised Mikey Johnson, and he was then asked, "What about Mikey Johnson encourages you that he can unlock his potential?" And then Brendan Rodgers says, "If you look at his qualities, I think technically he's got elite level technique. He's got elite level technique, which means that he could go and play at the highest level in England, according to Brendan. He's very good in one-to-one situations, and he can eliminate people just inside or outside. He can score goals, and been able to do that since he was 18-year-old when I was here the first time. He has those tools, and he has got a little bit stronger with it. He's always been, it's been his body and his inconsistency. He had that in training, and he's trained a lot over the last 3 or 4 months, and he's building up his body strength, which is interesting to know. Maybe that's one of the things that Brendan Rodgers told him. It's like, look, you need to get into the gym, and you need to start working on your upper body strength. You need to work on your upper body strength, and you need to start bullying your way past players, because at the highest level, that's what other players are doing on the continent. And if you want to play at the highest level, that's what you need to do. Mikey's body getting his inconsistency, that was an interesting one. He's been very good in training, Brendan Rodgers said, and he's made an impact coming into games. We hope he can make that next step when he plays from the start. We just want him to be free and enjoy showing his talent. That's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Anyway, the Celtic manager did go on to speak about Gustav Lagerbielke and Rocky. He says the reason that they've not been in the squads of late, he says, he wants to see more of them in training. He wants to see more of their personality and what their reaction has been like. He says the players have been great. The two guys can't do much more, unfortunately, he says, but you can only play two centre halves unless you want to play with a full back four of centre halves, and we tend not to do that. The guys that have been here have got a lot, and they've got that shot. It says when you look at Nat, it says when you look at Nat Phillips, he's come in and he's been good cover for us. These guys have been great. Their attitudes, Nat, it says that Gustav and Lagerbielke have been great. They're just training away. That's all they can do. When you work hard in training, the manager then has to pick a team. And when you have to pick a team, you've only got two for that position. Could it be the case that they might get loaned out the second half of the season? I don't think so with Nat Phillips going back down to Liverpool. I don't think that either of them will get loaned out. There's more chance of them getting a chance the second half of the season. And especially with the fact that Cameron Carter Vickers, with Cameron Carter Vickers not being in the team possibly this weekend. I'll get back to you in a minute, Kaiser. Brendan Rodgers was then asked about the interest from Harry Kewell from Japan and how far down the road is it. He says, I haven't spoke to him. I spoke about it the other night after the game. I'm not sure how far down the road it is. He's very much still working here. There is a level of interest in him, and it doesn't surprise me because he's a talented guy. We will see what evolves over the next couple of days. And that's the manager talking about one of our coaches, and it'll be interesting to see if he does decide to leave. Kaiser, what's your take on the one and only Harry Kewell? How do you think his time's been at Celtic, and do you think that he'll take the opportunity to go and manage in Japan?
Well, I think his time's been. I turned the mic down a wee bit. Hopefully that helps as
Yeah,
well, Baz. Right? I think his time has been well spent here. You can see his effectiveness in the working with the wingers, the work that he has put in. And of course, obviously, the wingers have came in for a bit of criticism recently. We've just been wanting them to go by players and cross the ball, but that certainly seems to have
yeah,
translated in the last game. They're crossing the ball, getting to the byline, and taking players on the outside a bit more rather than just always going inside. So
yeah,
on the whole, I think Harry Kewell's been quite effective, a good quality coach. And once you've had a taste for that management level, you can always see a player hungers, a player with drive, hungers to go back to that. And it's very Yokohama F. Marinos to have Ange there and then Muscat and now be coming on to another Australian, someone who's worked with Ange, worked at Celtic, worked under Ange's style, can come right in there, fit like a glove. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a
yeah.
lot of sense for Harry Kewell as well. So if he goes, good luck to
There's
him.
an
He has my full support.
Yeah, there's an interesting one from San Fran Celtic. Will Damien Duff come back to Celtic to coach under Brendan Rodgers? Obviously, Damien Duff was at Celtic before,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I don't know if he would come back or not. I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure. Would it be something? Would it be good? Um,
I remember when Damien Duff was here, he was absolutely fantastic coaching the wingers.
yeah,
Like absolutely outstanding. He was that good that when he left, there was a noticeable drop off between him and really Harry Kewell arriving and working a player of
yeah,
that caliber. You know what I mean? Someone who has that experience, Premier League experience and stuff. So bringing that to the squad is obviously it helps in the background. So if Harry Kewell does go, I would like to see someone come in and replace him, someone of similar standard. You know what I mean, Baz? Not just any
yeah.
Tom, Dick, or
I
Harry,
think
but
it's a,
someone of similar standard.
I think it's important for the way that Celtic and have the coaching staff set up now, especially the fact that they have coaches for each department. I mean, they've obviously got John Kennedy that does the coaching
Mm-hmm.
with the defenders. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if they do go stay down that road and bring in another coach just to work with the wingers. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting. Let's get to Cell 88. Aberdeen want 4 million, should give them 6, but they need to take James McCarthy as part payment. Has anyone actually seen James McCarthy in any of the training videos this season? This season. I mean,
No,
it's unbelievable that. I
no.
mean,
I
where
was
is
going to
he?
do
Where is
a
James McCarthy?
I was going to do a Where's Wally style book starring James McCarthy for the Christmas period.
Yes.
I thought maybe if I
Yep.
published a book, they would let me back on axe him. But I think I'm pretty much
Yep.
barred for there, Baz. You know what I mean?
that's, that's all right. Sorry, don't worry about it. I think that's
It's
what
their
do you say?
loss, Baz,
Too many
right? It's their
Tories.
loss.
Too too many Tories. Too many Tories. I've said
Yep.
it. I don't care. I've said it. Too many Tories. San Francisco. Bring back Bruni. Would Bruni come in? I've said before. I don't think Scott Brown will come back to Celtic under another coach. What could
Mm-hmm.
Scott Brown learn coming back to Celtic and coaching under Brendan Rodgers that he wouldn't learn going out and doing it himself? Going out and doing it himself and
Mm-hmm.
being able to pick up the phone and not just talking to him. I mean, Scott will talk to. I mean, he'll talk to the likes of Martin O'Neill. He'll talk to the manager that brought him to Celtic, the one and only little Gordon Strachan. He'll talk to all these. I mean, these are his peers. And Scott has said he wants to go out and make his own mistakes. And I think he'll have learned more. Him and Whitaker would have learned more of what they went through in
Mm-hmm.
management down in England, and for him to go back into
Mm-hmm.
it, I think coming to Celtic would be too much of a comfort blanket around him. I mean, it is too much. I mean, for all the niceness it is to come home and whatever and say, but let's face it, he was a Celtic captain. He's a Hibby through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Bruni's a Hibby through and through, and he'll tell you that himself. I mean, he grew up just across the water from Edinburgh. He went through the youth system at Hibs. Even when you look at his social media, he's always putting things up. He's always putting things up with him
Mm-hmm.
and his old mates that he grew up with. So I mean, coming back to Celtic would be nice from our point of view. But I think Scott's now, he's at the age where he's like, yeah, it's a really important part of my career. And I loved being at Celtic. I loved everything about it. I loved playing at Celtic. I love being captain of Celtic. I love the Celtic support. I love coming back and talking about it. But moving forward, I think he's said enough that he wants to just go out, do his own thing, make his own mistakes, and then see where it takes him in his career. What do you think?
I think Bruni's intelligent enough man not to lock himself into that John Kennedy kind of role, that forever,
Mm.
perpetually the bridesmaid but never the bride. Always comes up when there's a question of John Kennedy getting the Celtic job, and me, like most Celtic fans, are always kind of like, don't know about that. You know what I mean? I would rather have this guy come in, rather have another guy come in. Like I wanted Knutson to come in before Brendan.
Mm.
I was looking forward to his maybe staying in the same swashbuckling style of football. People came back with their point saying like Knutson has never done it outside of his own country. So people
Yeah.
brought their own arguments. I understand that. Sorry, Baz, mate, waffling on and wandering off the topic.
No.
But I
I was
think
checking. I was testing sound. I was testing sound when you're talking. Don't worry about it.
cool, bro. I think Bruni is intelligent enough not to return in the guise of a coach when he's out there right now being a manager. And as you say yourself, he's at that age where you start learning that the hard learned lessons are the best learned lessons, and the ones you learn yourself are also the best learned lessons. You know what I mean? You learn more for one defeat than you do 100 victories, as the saying goes. So I think his experience he's gaining as a manager down south is going to be worth its weight in gold. Should he ever return north of the border, hopefully at Celtic in the future. But I think he would be holding out for a managerial role, and he does not have
Yeah.
that experience right now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Excellent player,
Captain today. Where is
fantastic
your
servant of the
local?
club.
Where is your local? Because I know that Bruni stays just on the outskirts of Edinburgh, but he was in Belfast last weekend for the boxing. So something today. Tell us, where is your local? Go on, tell us. Right, McCarthy. This is a good one. It's not McCarthy's fault. We give him the contract. It's one of the weirdest things. McCarthy. I mean, it's like, where is he? It's like Finding Nemo when it comes to McCarthy. Um, Blackburn Matilda. Ah, right. I know where that is. Yeah, Mid
Bro,
Calder. That's
I've
where the
got a
bunker
picture.
used to be.
I've got like a wanted poster somewhere in the house, and it's got James
Yeah,
McCarthy in the hamburger for McDonald's. See the guy who steals the burgers with
yeah,
the ginger hair? It's got like a picture
yeah.
of the two of them, and it's like the wage burglar, wanted man. Know what I mean? Have you seen James McCarthy? I'll
Fucking
see if I
man.
can find it. Know what I mean? Send you a picture.
Right, do that. Yeah, something today. Yeah, I know where that is. The Black Bull, Mid Calder. I'm sure I actually popped in there a couple of times on the way to the bunker back in the day. Yeah, you remember that nightclub? Anyway, Smell the Gloves said, "Can we just stop getting coaches in that have played for the club? All the best coaches are available." When you look at
Mhm.
it, it used to be the case that Celtic captains would get the job. I think that Roy can I can remember he was really close with my dad back in the day, and I can remember him and my dad telling me when Roy went to Newcastle, Aberdeen, and then Newcastle, that he actually thought that he would be back at Celtic. His coaching career up in Aberdeen, he was basically chased out the door at Aberdeen, but then he went on to have a fantastic coaching career in Saudi Arabia before, and it was, I'm sure it was Saudi, yeah, it was Saudi Arabia before it was trendy, before they threw the money that they're throwing at
Mhm.
players now. So I don't think Scott Brown, personally, I don't think Scott Brown will be back. He's said enough over the years to say that he wouldn't be in. And so let's put that one to bed and move on from it. James McCarthy joined. It's living golf. Where is James McCarthy? Right. Brendan Rodgers was also then asked, is there anyone who would stand in his way talking about, I don't know,
Bro,
we'll come to that one. It was,
that's not the real James McCarthy. That's a Russian robot they've planted here to spy on Faz Lane,
it's,
and he's just at Celtic, and he needs 25 grand a week to charge. He needs to buy the batteries. It's a lot of money in
he needs to buy
Duracell.
the
You know what I mean?
batteries.
For some reason, the club's funding it. Peter Lawwell, I put it down to Peter, and his Tory
Put it down to
outline
Lowell.
plans. Definitely.
Brendan Rodgers was asked about how's the squad looking for the weekend. He said they're in a
Mm-hmm.
good place. We're just checking on one or two. Cameron Carter Vickers came off. We'll see how he's. It was Interesting that they sent Cameron Carter-Vickers for an MRI scan. The fact that I wonder if it was the same leg that he had the hamstring problem with at the start of the season. The manager then said, apart from that, we have no one new who will come into the squad. So the only ones that are out injured, I mean, because Stephen Welsh is back training with the squad. Stephen Welsh is back training with the squad, so it's only Lila Bada that's been out and Dyson Myra. So they're obviously not back training with the squad and ready to go yet. They are back on the pitch. So it'll be interesting to see. Do you really want to rest Cameron Carter-Vickers? I know it's that pitch, and we've got a really important game, and Celtic want to go out and put a show on at home for the Champions League, the final game in the Champions League. But do you really want to risk not playing him versus against playing him on that pitch? It's a difficult one, considering that Nat Phillips cost us a goal against Hibs.
I would, Baz, right, for me, you've got to protect your most valuable assets. Right now, we paid, what, 6 million for Carter-Vickers, and he's well worth more than 6 million. You know what I mean? And to play him after he's had maybe a tight muscle, and I know he's had maybe a bit longer to recover, and as you say, they sent him for a scan. They were fearing it may have been hamstring, but I believe it was just muscle tightness. But precautionary, he came off. Or more so, the player wanted to continue, but the management team decided that he should stay off and go for that scan. So, I wouldn't risk him on the cursed carpet. I know for a fact, right, I've Googled it, and I know Google's not correct about everything, but I've Googled the effects of an artificial surface. Anyone can Google it, you can check it yourself. You're 60% more likely to pick up a non-contact knee or ankle injury on an artificial surface. So that's just by the surface being hard and you rolling your ankle or damaging your knees. And we already know that Carter-Vickers has had problems with one of his knees. He's just coming back for that, suffered a hamstring injury. I would definitely not risk him. I would look at the games coming up and definitely be thinking about resting him until even after the Feyenoord game. And then he can be fit and firing for when the rotten mob come a-calling, when the Ox pour into paradise. Well, there won't be any Ox, but...
Yeah, there won't be any of them, which is good. But then again, that's going to come to the fore in the next couple of weeks, and the Scottish media will go into complete meltdown, saying that Celtic are refusing to give the Rangers tickets. They're refusing to give Rangers tickets.
I believe the article was out of pure fear. I seen it in the Daily Record for a couple of weeks in the future. You know what I mean? We know the usual.
Yes, we know the usual. They just pull out the same nonsense every single time. Somebody says we need to get rid of every plastic pitch in the top league. With football, it's unfair in the club who cannot field their strongest 11. Due to that, it's an unfair advantage. I don't think it's an unfair advantage. I think it's just... I always go back to Dunfermline years ago. Dunfermline had the plastic pitch when they were in the SPFL, and they were told to rip it up due to the fact that they wanted all grass pitches in the SPFL. And it's unbelievable that they went back the way. I mean, Dunfermline at the time, small community club, they did rely on people paying to play on the pitch. And I always remember, because we had guys over from Holland that all worked in Holland, and they come over and they were playing in Holland strips, and all my mates were all playing in full Celtic strips. there was a wedding on inside Dunfermline's ground, and they actually thought it was some kind of Celtic team that were playing. It was absolutely hilarious.
Brilliant.
Until someone done a streak around the pitch. I have no idea who that was.
Oh, Baz. You didn't, did you?
Yeah, I did it just purely for the banter, just because it was a wedding and they kept on looking out the window. So, yeah. But I mean, I can understand why the clubs back then, I mean, you're talking 20 odd years ago. You can understand.
That'll be where the reports he had Baby Elephant loose in the stadium came for them, Baz, because of the middle trunk and you running around there in the buff. Get it now? Now I know where the legends come from. I stayed in Dunfermline for a little while, Baz. I loved it.
Did you? Yeah, I stayed in Dunfermline for a while as well. It's nice. It's a nice city. So it is a city now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Nice place. Weird people.
Buried. Yeah, they are. They're weird. Yeah, but the 7 Kings of Scotland buried there. So that was probably the only reason. And I stayed about About 2 minutes for where they were all buried. Anyway, we move on for that. I think in the modern day, there's no place for a plastic pitch in the top level. And I think it's only right that now
Mm-hmm.
that the SPFL are maybe looking at enforcing the use of grass pitches. Neil Doncaster has held talks about possibly banning artificial pitches in the top flight. I think it's something that needs to be done. It could be introduced as soon as next season
Mm-hmm.
or the end of this season with a grace period for changes.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that have got after, like AstroTurf in the top league, Kelly they need to get their act together. Livingston, they've got one as well. It doesn't look nice. It's you can understand the economics years ago, but you've
Mm-hmm.
got the likes of Kilmarnock coming out now saying that, well, we broke profit. Never mind this nonsense about that we need Celtic. We need to sell half or three quarters of the stadium to Celtic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we've broke profit. Well, if you've broke profit, and that's coming from your own fans, get rid of the plastic pitch and get in a grass pitch and play proper football, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it'll just only make the game better. So all
Mm-hmm.
these little things that are going on in the background of Scottish football, where teams are sitting back, we're playing, and it doesn't look good when you're trying to sell a TV product that's on rubbish pitches. That's just my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah,
So
definitely, Baz, 100%. As I says to you, right, 60% of non-contact knee and ankle injuries
yeah,
come on an artificial surface. So that's not even being tackled. That's non-contact for another player. So we need to look at protecting our professionals, how much these players are worth, how much they are an asset to the club. And other clubs around Scotland, they also have assets, players. Look at Miovski right now at Aberdeen, even though they're second bottom of the
yeah,
league, only 3 points above, I believe it is,
yeah.
Livingston, who are bottom. So they'll be
Livingston, yeah,
watching Livingston like a hawk. And you need to look at the surfaces and how they affect our playing staff, how the injuries affect, how the cumulative injuries and the harshness of the surface affects our players overall. So I'm all for the pitches being switched out. And as you said yourself, how it looks on TV, as well as the empty stands, how that looks on TV, trying to market and sell the product of
yeah.
Scottish football. Sometimes it looks really horrendous. It looks really like junior league stuff. No wonder people go around and say it's a pub league and stuff like that when you've got things like plastic artificial surfaces in the Premier Division. So I fully understand why we should make a change. And I believe we spoke about it before as well, Baz. And it was either you or members of the chat suggested that the larger clubs should contribute to some sort of relief fund to ensure that all surfaces are up to a professional standard, to help maybe smaller clubs who are struggling with the finance of ground staff and ensure the quality of surface overall in the league. I
I
can't
think
remember if
if
it
a
was you
club
or someone in
if
chat.
a if a club, even though they might get away, they might sack some ground staff that are looking after the grass. They still need these plastic pitches. Still need looked after on a weekly basis, and they
Mm-hmm.
still go in with tractors over the top of them to brush them and everything. And to me, it's just a nonsense. Anyway, let's get away from plastic pitches and let's talk about the man of the moment. Let's talk about the man of the moment, the one and only Awata. Awata. Um, it looks like he's going to get a start again this week. Should he stay in that holding midfield role and allow Callum McGregor to go further forwards? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
hinted about it this morning. Is where does that leave Callum McGregor? Where does that leave Callum McGregor over the next couple of months, especially when the likes of Rio Hatati comes back into the team? Do we then change
Mm-hmm.
formation, or is Awata the one that gets left out? Or are we going to change formation to accommodate the one and only Japanese player and Kalmak in that middle of the pitch?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think what seemed to be happening was they were playing as a little midfield triangle with Iwata at the base or at the point of the triangle, but sitting
Yeah.
inverted in front of the defence. And he was seemed to be interchanging with Kalmak, who was also going back and sitting back there, really picking up the ball. It made it really hard for the
Yeah.
opposition team just to man mark Kalmak out of the game, because that's what they've been doing. They've just been man marking him and taking him right out of the game.
It
So
was good that
I thought it was really intelligent.
That free reign to roam about the sort of top of the pitch. He wasn't getting left in that one position where you've got one person, and I mean it's a good change of tactics, and you've got to hand it to the manager for that change of tactics, because let's face it, Ange Postecoglou didn't change his tactics too much during the season. He didn't change his tactics. He had his one game play, and it was Ange ball, and that was it. Is Brendan Rodgers now shown his prowess as a manager, and knowing that little tweaks and changes like that are needed at this time of the season?
I think he's shown his versatility. Like, whereas with Ange was more dedicated to one style. And I like that philosophy for Ange, right, Baz? I can't say I didn't like it because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the football. Yeah. And I always believe, like, it's better to be a master of one trade than a jack of all trades. But that dedication, that plan A and plan B is do plan A better, pushing that forward is really, for me, I seen as trying to master one style of football and be dedicated towards it rather than be a jack of all trades, be defensive or mix and mash the setup. But Brendan Rodgers seems to do it really well. As we said there about the midfield three rotating and a three, Matt O'Reilly didn't really drop back, but he did rotate from left-hand side to right-hand side as Cal Mack and Iwata moved forward. It made them really hard to pick up, and that is a tactical change probably implemented by Brendan, which is really astute and intelligent. It's probably the kind of thing that we've been calling for on podcasts and in chats and as fans in the stands for a long time. We've been asking for Iwata to play and Big O as well, and I believe both of them performed that well. They rightly so retained their positions.
I always look back to O's second goal, and when he gets the ball away outside the box, he gets past one defender and the other defender's pushing him. And I've got to say, I'll be honest, I think at that point Kyogo might have went down and tried to get the penalty, but Big O had the upper body strength to push his man off him and then still be able to put the ball past the keeper. We've been missing someone like that from, I would go his way back, John Hartson and Big Chris Sutton. Because even Edouard and that, they never played like that. They never really bullied defenders. We've been looking for a striker. I mean, he is going to save us. He is going to turn into a good player. He's going to turn into a good striker. And I still think that Celtic in the SPFL should be playing two strikers up front. We should be playing more a 3-5-2 formation. Due to the way that other teams set up against us. To have the players that can kind of play that, it would mean maybe trying to push Alistair Johnston further up into a midfield type role to keep him on the pitch, because I think it's important that we keep Alistair Johnston on the pitch because he's a fantastic player. But when it comes to it, if we go out and get another striker, in the January window, which the manager has confirmed that we're going to have to do because we're going to lose, and let's face it, O could be our only striker for the run into the end of the league, because if Kyogo does have this ongoing problem with his shoulder, which is looking like he does, Celtic are not going to come out and say, but Kyogo's getting pushed off the ball a lot, and Brendan will see that. Kyogo's not got that upper body strength. Kyogo is people are getting him off the ball. There was one game a couple of weeks ago where the defender made no attempt to even try and get the ball. He just turned around and manhandled. It was almost like a rugby tackle. Kyogo at the ground, but VAR or nothing picked it up. So it's who do we go out and get as a striker? Getting the guy for Aberdeen might be all nice and good, but is he the type of striker that can make us better in the Champions League?
I don't think Miovski is that kind of. We're not looking right. If he comes in and it's kind of skippy like Scott McDonald and he improves domestically, or Gary Hooper, and then he takes that forward to the Champions League, right? That would be amazing. But I don't think that's what Miovski's been signed for. I think it's more in line with the Asia Cup and the players going away, and and Kyogo. Well, possibly Kyogo going to be away. So it's on Kyogo's form right now. Don't know if he's going to be away. And Hatate as well with his injury. Don't know if he's going to be away. But it looks likely that they're going to be away. Miovski makes perfect sense. He knows the league. He knows the criteria. We know he can score goals against domestic competition. He also knows there's stiff competition at Celtic. Yeah. He's got to be looking at the fact that perhaps all striking options from Daisen Maeda, Kyogo and O are going to be away, and he's going to get a free run and his best chance to get his best foot forward and try and establish himself before these players return. I don't think it spells disaster for O, but it certainly spells more competition, and competition breeds winners.
Does that? John says we accommodate three strikers with Larson, Sutton, and Carson, so why not get another one? John, we
Mm-hmm.
played 3-5-2 then. The problem that Celtic has just now is the fact that we only play one striker at a time. But look what happens with the Grumpy Greek. He wanted to leave because he felt he wasn't wanted at Celtic. He wasn't getting enough game time. Say come March, once all the three players are back, we go out and we get Morski, and he comes to Celtic. He starts banging in goals for fun. Say he gets a couple, and at least a goal a game. Keeps his goal scoring form that he's got at Aberdeen. Makes it a little bit better at Celtic. Then comes back Kyogo. Um, Desperate to get a game for Celtic again, improve himself at the highest level, help Celtic win the league because that's what Kyogo is just in his mantra. And then O comes back as well. Both those players have had a decent Asia Cup. They want to go on from that and prove that they can do it at the highest level. Where does that then leave us? Because we're not going to play. I mean, under Brendan Rodgers, unless he has a big change of heart in the running, will he change the formation and go and play a 3-5-2 for the running? I mean, that would be a completely different ball game altogether. He might not. He might go for a 4-4-2. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
definitely.
I understand what you're saying, John. But we play a different game in the modern day. Ian saying three strikers with different attributes. I can't even say that. It's even is perfect. I think it is, but I feel sometimes that Celtic are a bit, we're caught short in the middle of the park when from an attacking sense. And it's all good and well saying that Celtic will play with this front three. They'll have a main striker and then the two wingers that can go to the byline and come in. Sometimes when you're crossing the ball and you're then hoping that Cal Mack or Matt O'Reilly then gets into the box, and you can understand how the formation has changed in the modern game. So it allows you to, on paper and on what they do in training, it allows you to have more people in the box. But sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when you look at our crosses into the box and there's no one there, you're thinking, maybe playing that second striker to come in off the back post. But then that maybe comes where the manager's saying that are playing the last third, and he has said this since the beginning of the season. He said that the play in the last third has been terrible. Maybe that's what he's meaning. He's meaning that players haven't been getting up and getting onto those positions that a second striker would be. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I think he's thinking about them like the wingers or the
Yeah,
secondary strikers, should we call them, because they're meant to be part of a front three, but they're more so wingers. I think them inverting all the time and coming inside is very unimaginative. I think that's what Brendan was trying to say. Just getting the ball out
yeah,
wide and cutting inside every time and having a shot. Things that we've been saying week upon week, time upon time. That is just unacceptable. There's got to be a conversation at least between the overlapping runner. If you're going to go inside and have the overlapping runner, then you need to have a conversation with that guy behind you and go, right, sometimes I'm going to go outside and then you're going to invert. That is the whole point in Greg Taylor being an inverting fullback. He doesn't just invert
yeah,
into midfield. He inverts all the way up the pitch, or he goes to the outside as a runner. There needs to just be maybe a longer period of time training together and being in the squad. Palmer and stuff are just new to the squad. So you can really see that building of a relationship between players takes a bit of time. So you could say maybe that's
yeah,
part of it. And maybe just Brendan looking for the striking force to be a bit more diverse. And Kyogo certainly has a lot of strings to his bow. His movement is top class, but I don't know about his aerial prowess and what he's like for getting cross balls in. So I would definitely love to see Big O in there or another striker. Certainly, if we brought someone in who's not Miovski, someone with aerial prowess, someone who can, as well as help on defending and clearing a ball, could stick the ball in the back of the net up front. It's something I feel we lack.
yeah.
We cross the ball and win so many corners and we never really convert them. Matt O'Reilly, as we've been calling for, got one the other night. And a lovely
He did
finish.
that. Vinny says, who would you rather, Shanklin or Miovski? I think that realistically, although Celtic have been looking at the Aberdeen player and they've had him scouted for a few weeks, you can just see that Brendan will pull a rabbit out of the hat and go and get someone else
Mhm.
completely left field that no one has been talking about.
Mhm.
But then you never know. You never know. Taylor tends to forget his defensive duties. He does that, and he kind of leaves that left open quite a bit. Let's just get some of the comments up. Green Machine says Celtic pro want to cross high balls just for the sake of it. And we seem to cross balls and we don't have enough height in the team. Anyway, that's enough for tonight. I am done and dusted. I am going to go and get some food. It is the back at 8 here in Spain. It is Celtic Park time. It's 7:10 at night. There is a big, massive celebration going on in town, and I want to go and take part in that. It's a very religious day here today in Spain. Thank you, everyone who has joined the channel tonight. Thank you for all the comments, and I shall see you on the next video. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around.